Hello, welcome back to White Whale Comics again, 2 months in a row because John messed up on Instagram. Said it was
Yeah,
on my channel
this is
and
true.
left it up all day because I was at work and I didn't have time to check his work. He also misspelled Zdarsky.
Did I?
Yeah,
Awesome.
he spelled it Dzarsky.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Sounds good. It's a hot new up and coming writer, and you're gonna shame him.
he it's Chip Zdarsky's pen name, Pitch Dzarsky.
It's a winner. I like it.
For like when he wants to write something that he doesn't want to be associated with.
Which is hilarious because Chip Zdarsky is a pen name.
Yeah,
So it's like a second pen name.
right. Either that or that's his real name, and we've uncovered the truth. What's up, Magic Lasso? Thanks for tailgating. Tom's Comic Books and Reviews, and comic books will break your heart. They certainly will.
I mean,
not intentionally all the time.
yeah. I mean, I know we got some heartbreakers in this.
Hey,
discussion
Tina,
tonight.
what's up? Yeah, so we're at like a weird point in the year where we get exhausted with comics. I don't know what it is, but but like we've been talking for basically a month about like what are we going to talk about this month because nothing really new has piqued our interest, and thanks to this new format we do with this show, we're not forced into reading number ones and talking about them when we don't want to. So we decided to just continue last month's discussion. So I guess it makes sense that it's on my channel, and keep talking about Batman, Detective, and Daredevil. The new runs with the new creative teams.
We're doing a deuce tonight.
Not the first time.
All those number twos coming at you.
Even though none of them are number twos.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, well, I guess Daredevil technically is.
Well, they give you both
also
numbers.
650, yeah.
Legacy or whatever. So, yeah. We got a lot of deuces for you, folks. And we might deuce all over them. I don't know.
Hey, better than number 3 in.
Yeah. So, I totally random aside. Kate has always been number 2 in every sport that she's played. She's been number 2, and
by her own choice.
Yeah. And I always get a joke out of screaming, "Let's go number 2." So there you go.
Well, I think I'm sure I've told this story before, but my my alma mater, their mascot is the Nads, so at games you yell "Go Nads."
There you go. What is a nad?
It is literally a testicle.
So their mascot is a testicle.
Yeah.
How do you dress as that?
It's a big penis suit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what happens when you go to art school.
I always thought my high school was lame when it was the artists. That was our thing. No. That was our thing. That was our mascot.
His name is Scrody. And you wonder why I am the way I am.
I really think it's like an onion that I just peel back layer after layer.
But also it's like a chicken and the egg situation. Like, did I become who I am because of things like that in my life, or did I gravitate towards things like that because I thought they were hilarious in the first place?
What's the Nick Hornby line? Am I depressed because I listen to sad music, or am I listening to sad music because I'm depressed?
Yeah. Little column A, little column B.
Right.
Also, this conversation kind of puts a spotlight on the fact that we're maybe not super excited to talk about these books.
With 5 minutes of just gabbing.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I will say one of these is going off the pull list for me. I'm done. I don't know that I need any more.
I bet I can guess what it is.
One of these I I'm really just frustrated with, and I want it to be so much better because I know I'm going to be picking up at least a couple more issues of it because I was out of an obligation in some ways. And then one of these, I'm actually excited for the third issue.
Okay.
So
let me guess. Let me guess. The one that's removed from the pull list is Detective Comics.
Yeah, bye Rom V.
Yeah.
Bye.
Hey, no one bats 1,000.
I mean, that's true. And I did like that he included Two-Face, my favorite Bat villain, but just really not well.
Yeah. The one you're keeping out of obligation is Daredevil.
Yes, sir.
And the one that you're excited to see where it goes is Batman.
Because he's Rainbow Batman now.
Which I forget what that Batman's name is, but it's like
it's right there at the bottom. It's Abin Zur or something.
Yeah. Is it at the bottom?
Isn't it at the bottom of the like splash page reveal? Yeah, Zurin R. Sorry, Zurin R. Oops. Isn't that his name?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, Zurina. Yeah, it says right there. Jeez. Yeah. So I guess you want to talk about them in that order?
Let's do it. How do you feel about Detective Comics issue 1063?
Obviously I read the issue beforehand, but I started reading this and said, what happened in that last issue? And how's it relating to what's happening now? Because like this felt as much as like a jumping on point as the last issue did, which is to say not necessarily the most easily jump onable.
Yeah. I think that would be easy for me to say about either of these Batman books, that I don't know that I needed the first issue to get this second issue.
But I think one succeeded a lot more than the other one.
Absolutely. And
although, I mean, yeah.
I feel like in general, whatever that first issue was for both of these was just a slog and an unmitigated mess that I feel like didn't add up to anything necessary or anything interesting.
Yeah. And strangely enough, to me, in my mostly untrained eye, the art styles in Batman and Detective are very similar. But I think Batman, Jorge Jimenez, like, is more successful in it. So it's not, if you're looking at them side by side, I'd rather take the one with the more interesting story and the art. Like, if the art was totally different, I might say like, well, I like the art enough to keep going with it. And like the art's not bad, but
no,
it's just like not giving me anything I'm not getting from Batman in that regard.
And and maybe it's I can't decide if it's an expectations issue, because I have an expectation of Rom V to have a sort of ethereal story.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting that here. It's fractured and fragmented, but there's no like poetry to it in the sense of like quality use of language. I don't mean like literally poetry. I just mean like the cadence, right? The function of syllables and the way he uses language. He is such a poetic writer that I feel like this doesn't have his fingerprint or DNA on it anywhere.
Yeah.
Am I making any sense?
No, yeah. Like if you had told me this like without knowing anything, if you gave me this book and then said, oh, that's the writer of Layla Starr, I'd say, no, you're pulling my leg.
Right? This feels far more akin to any other number of Tom King, Scott Snyder, whatever. Like it feels far more akin to typical mediocre Batman.
Yeah. What's up, Gore? What's up, Super Russ? And Magic Lasto said, not reading either. Are they connected to one another? No, not at all. And in fact, um, so disconnected that it feels like they're from alternate dimensions. Like, and what I mean by that is that the events taking place in Batman clearly have no effect. Like, they are not happening at the same time at all. They
No.
can't. They cannot
Yeah.
be.
And I think it's been that way for a while. Every once in a while, they'll link up for an event like Fear State or something
Yeah.
like that. But I don't know that these two books have been on pace with each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think they've been trying to define them as very different, where, Batman's a more action paced kind of story typically, and Detective is a slower burn typically. Like that seems to be what people who read a ton of it express to me. And I will legitimately say I have only ever picked up Detective Comics, off the shelf twice. Like it's really not been a book that I've gone out and read, even though people told me that they really loved it. I read the very end of was it Joshua Williamson's run? Like it was not too long ago, and then this is the second time. That's it. I've usually just picked up Batman as a comic.
I don't know necessarily how true this is over the years, but to me, I always kind of saw them as Batman being the adventure book and Detective being the detective book, where it was like a little more cerebral.
Right.
I don't know that that's necessarily historically true, but that's how I would like to see them. At least that's how I feel like they should be treated. Because if you just
makes sense to me.
If you just have two books telling similar Batman stories that clearly don't link up to each other, but you're still trying to, like, it'd be fine if you're just saying, okay, here's two stories about the same character at some point in their existence. But when you have something like DC or Marvel where they have this huge overarching universe and Batman turns into Zur-En Ra in Batman, but he's just like chilling in Detective, I don't know. It's just,
yeah.
Again, it's a, we bring this up time and time again, and we talk about Ram V and him not, not seeing the same sort of, like, use the word, poetic or poetry. How much of that is editorial saying, yeah, I know you do that really well, but that's not what we want.
Yeah.
Then why put, a writer like that on a book like this? Like,
is it? I can't decide if a lot of comic problems that I hear people talk about are in relation to continuity and this understanding of, when it comes to Marvel and DC, at least, this epic backlog and history of continuity. And you have these two different groups of fans, I think, one that really want respect and love and appreciation for and work within that community continuity, and then other people who just want like a good story. Give me an Elseworlds, give me a whatever. I just want like a good story. Like, take me wherever you'd go with it. But I'm not. So in that way, I feel like what we have at DC is this issue where some people really love and appreciate that DC has this history and that they're willing to keep drawing from it, whatever book is doing it to their appreciation level. And then you have this whole other Elseworlds thing at DC where they're constantly producing, Superman Red Sun or whatever, Dark Knights of Steel, to give you these Elseworld stories. And I don't know that Detective or Batman feel like they fit in either.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I can't speak for anyone but myself, but I think, to me, the issue isn't that it needs to be one or the other, but that it's neither, right? Like, they use continuity when it's convenient for them, and then when it's not, or it gets too convoluted, they just hit the reset button.
Right.
And
Or they
so,
just say, no, this was just an Elseworld miniseries.
right, this one's, either they tell you that up front or they tell you that afterwards, that when they decide they don't want it in continuity, that it's.
But do you think it's an issue because of fan expectations that they're forced to kind of walk a line between the fans that want a complete respect for continuity and fans that are completely okay with taking it wherever you want? Like, are they trying to find a middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly like probably likely. I think the other possibility is that, you're looking at with something like Batman, what, 75, 80 years worth of history, and to find a writer, consistently find writers who know all of that continuity and history to be able to put it into their book. It's easier just to say, do what you want with the character, and when it doesn't fit into continuity, we'll just ignore it. So I think it gets frustrating. I think, in a perfect world, we'd have continuity and good stories. Personally, I'd pick good stories over continuity any day of the week. Like, I'd rather read Red Sun or Gotham by Gaslight or something than, this detective run, and not that I don't know if this is even how continuity focused it is, because I haven't been reading.
But wouldn't it be cool? I mean, this is never going to happen, so it's a completely stupid sentence. But like, wouldn't it be cool if they just dedicated one of these two comics to non-continuity stories and one to fully continuity stories, and then we're giving writers and artists a chance to do miniseries in the Batman comics over and over again, not the Marvel reboot to #1, but issue 80, what are we on, 120, issue 127 would start a miniseries by a new team, and they're just telling a non-continuity story. And then when that one's done, a new team's coming in, and you just sell them in trades, and they're finished.
Sure.
On the other book, you are all continuity. You're all in.
I mean, to me, as a reader, that sounds great. To DC as a company trying to make money, what are they going to do when they want to do a crossover event to get you to buy extra books?
Well, I mean, I do think they have enough other books to pull that off.
Oh, never enough.
But you could also argue they're basically doing that with all the miniseries that they're doing anyways. The White Knight and Batman Damned or whatever, that there's enough minis that are all just off on their own. But were it to be like, I don't know, sequentially, like, get the next one and get the next. I feel like they're doing something cool.
Batman right now, I think, is consistently, if not the best-selling comic every month, in the top 2 or 3.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And I think it's been that way for a while. And to take that power away from them and say like, oh, these are non-continuity stories, until we want it to be continuity again.
Until we change our mind next year.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's no perfect solution. I would rather have a Batman and detective titles that are running cohesively, like not necessarily the same story where you have to read both, but and I know that's very hard to do and coordinate writers and say like, we're telling this, similar stories at the similar time. But
especially when you're publishing 4 of them a month, right? You got 2 Batmans and 2 detectives a month now, right? Isn't that where they're at?
Oh, is it still?
I thought there were 2 a month, but maybe I'm no, it wouldn't be, because we just did it last month. So I guess they're not. It wasn't that long ago they were doing 2 of each a month, right? I thought it was. I could have sworn it was quite recently.
Is Batman Urban Legends continuity? I'm not sure. I know, like John just said, the White Knights I know are not in continuity.
And I haven't read Urban Legends, so I don't know. I've been off Batman until this summer with these 2 runs. I have really been working hard not to read Batman books. I'll read like Poison Ivy and I'll read Nightwing or what have you, but like I'm trying. And there's just so many of them. In fact, and Batman, it's getting worse.
I don't know if that is either.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a non-continuity one from what I recall. But like it's getting worse. I heard in October there's even more Batman books coming. Like it's going crazier. And
Yeah,
maybe Lasso can tell us, because Ryan is now, if you haven't watched Lasso, he's got some videos talking about this new career that he's started where he is running a comic shop now.
Very cool.
Yeah, so he may be able to enlighten us on stuff he's pre-ordering for October, because from what I hear, if you thought you were drowning in bat books, better learn to swim.
Thank goodness Marvel doesn't do anything like that.
You're talking about the X-Men books I bought this
Yeah,
today?
maybe.
I think there's too many of those too. I'm happy to say it. I was really hoping that Hickman would use his platform to start killing some of them off, but then he decided nobody can die. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
he went the other way with that.
Yeah, right. Well, I think not to get too far off track, but I'm quite amused by the idea of what he did with those resurrection eggs, because there's the running joke in comics that no one can die, like nobody's death is permanent,
right?
And for a while it was like, well, except for Bucky, but obviously he came back quite a few years ago at this point. So I think it's kind of the sort of thing where it's just like, be upfront and honest, be like, well, don't worry, like we're not even going to try to fool you to think that anybody's actually going to die.
He just leaned into the curve.
Yeah. Get ahead of the game and just say, well, now there's really no stakes for anybody, because they'll just be resurrected in the little gold balls.
Awkward, but yes. I mean, so I don't even know if we want to get into the story at this point, because we kind of have already.
Yeah, I don't need to.
Yeah. So I am not reading any more of these books. I will probably be giving these away at some point just to get rid of them.
Very cool cover, though.
Yeah, I like the border format that they're going with on these. The issue cover A's. Here's issue 1. Same kind of idea where they've got the it looks like almost like a tarot card or a playing card.
Although, like, I am of two minds that on one hand, I really like when the title is incorporated into the design more than just plopping it at the top.
Right.
But on the other hand, I hate it when they don't put it at the top. So when I'm looking through a bin and you can't tell what it is unless you pull it all the way out.
Yep. That's a good point. That's a fair point.
So do you want to jump over to Daredevil, or should we stick with the Batmans?
I'm fine with either one. What do you think?
Why don't we take a break?
A bat break?
A bat break, yeah. And talk about Daredevil 2/650. A little oversized issue action.
I will say my favorite part of this issue is the fact that they show every single cover of the 650 in the back. And I could see people being completely upset about this and feel like, I bought this oversized issue. I wanted 100 pages of Daredevil, and you're filling the last 10 of them just with all the covers that I've seen before.
Yeah.
I get it. But for me, the Daredevil fan, I was like, that's cool. It's kind of fun to see them all this way. So I liked it a lot, but I could understand completely somebody not liking it.
I will say, though, that the idea of what makes or doesn't make an anniversary issue has gotten out of control, because 650 to me is not a milestone issue. It's as much of a milestone as 625 or 675, like, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 750, 800, 900, 1,000.
I get it. But I mean, I remember when it was, what was it? I think it was oversized Uncanny X-Men 275.
Yeah. Yep.
Even as a kid, I was like, why is this like a special number?
Silver shiny cover.
Right. And I was like, just wait till 300, dude. Like, what's the
don't worry. 300 will be an anniversary issue too.
Oh, absolutely. But I do remember 275. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I can understand it if it was divisible by 12 or something. So it was like a number of years.
Anniversary issue 48. So when they get to 690, is that a
Yeah, Magic Lasso said, how about Amazing Fantasy issue 1000? Yeah, I mentioned that they have to do some interesting math gymnastics to get to that.
That's fuzzy math. So the focus of this issue, Daredevil 2, is like a Daredevil versus a character referred to as Goldie, Assistant District Attorney Robert Goldman, who seems to have some unusual special ability that he is sort of manipulating space and time in order to toughen up Matt Murdock.
Well, yeah, I mean, he not only to toughen up, but he's basically saying, like, I'm your guardian angel, and I'm making these things happen to make sure the next thing happens. And, you know, it's kind of like a trolley car problem where he's saying, yeah, maybe someone had to die here, but that made you save someone, you know, made you save 100 people later. So,
And so the issue primarily focuses on making Matt question his entire history through the lens of, did Goldie make me who I am? Right? Do I owe him for what he's put me through, or has he legitimately ruined my life by doing all the things that have been horrible about it?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the issue. Now, there's some cool sequences where we see maybe some runs that we've really loved, whether it's some of the Brubaker stuff when he's in jail with Kingpin, or go back a little earlier, we have some of the John Romita Jr. stuff with Typhoid Mary, which I thought was, I love the look of that hair that she had back then.
Chris Samnee, the best Daredevil artist.
Right. Let's see, where's that one? This one, right? Talk about this page here.
Yep.
And just some fun.
Not the Elektra, the one.
No, sorry, that one. And then of course the Miller era, I think, is kind of what they're throwing back there.
Yeah. I think
so they did some kind of fun things looking back.
Yeah. Honestly, once this issue got to the point where it was telling a story, it was really good. But that took
about a third of the issue, I would say.
Right there.
Yeah. Gore Vidal just unsubbed.
Fair enough.
I didn't say it. I just sort of like nodded along because I knew I'm not going to start a fight about that.
There have been a lot of great Daredevil artists. I just, I think that he gets forgotten about, and I think he's really top notch. So I don't necessarily really think he's the best Daredevil artist. I just think that
he's an amazing artist.
He's an amazing artist that,
full stop.
Yeah, people don't give enough credit to. So I over exaggerate in order to bring attention to.
In order to illuminate.
So one thing I thought was kind of funny when it gets to the present day, because it does some like flashbacks and stuff with
a bunch, for sure.
But then it gets to the present day. Daredevil is trapped under some rubble, having tried to stop this train from exploding, and Goldie's kind of lording above him. And these people come to save Daredevil and just throw a rock at the dude. Like, he's not doing anything, like, as an observer other than standing there. Like, he's not harming him. He's not helping him, but like, why would you throw a rock at him?
You're talking about Goldie.
Yes. That was a very strange moment.
Yeah. Because he's just standing over. I mean, admittedly, he's not helping a superhero who's trapped in rubble. He's got his hands in his pocket and he's kind of monologuing, very villanesque like.
Sure, you might have some words for the guy.
Right.
But like, you throw a rock at somebody who's trying to actively hurt someone, maybe.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't throw a rock at anybody. I mean, obviously, if it was to save somebody's life, I probably would. But you know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
the guy's just standing there looking like a bit of a pompous jerk,
Right.
and they throw a rock at his head. I don't know. Anyway, so these bystanders come and save Daredevil. And then he goes chasing after Goldie.
Yeah.
And
has a bunch of memories.
They have a bit of a fight. Trying to, like, it was a long issue.
Yes.
And not a lot happened in it.
No, it was over a very short time.
Trying to figure out if I missed anything. So he's saying, like, so I mean, whether or not Goldie is crazy is not the question, because he clearly knows things that he shouldn't, or has like an ability to do things in a way that show that he has some sort of extra abilities.
Right.
Would you say so?
Oh, yeah. Besides the fact that he glows.
Right. So at one point, Daredevil says, he's insane. Is he really some sort of puppet master of my life? And if so, like, who's his puppet master? Who decides my fate? Is it me? And the whole thing is, like, very much like Daredevil
right.
God questions, like, always about the spirituality.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that, like, so the reason why he's so worked up about the whole thing is that
this female character he's trying to rescue,
Kristen, who he thinks died
was on the train, he thought,
but is not on the train.
No.
Or is she? Like, I don't. This part confused me, because
I took it as he had gotten her off the train and just needed to trick Daredevil into thinking she was on it.
She was on it.
That's how I took it.
No, because she said the train had left the station out of service, and then, like, I don't think she knows what happened.
Yeah,
so
because
clearly he intervened somehow.
Exactly what I'm saying. He made sure she couldn't get on the train by making it not in service, and that it whipped right past her stop. But he wanted to fool Matt into thinking that she was on the train for whatever nefarious.
And then Goldie, like, goes and turns himself in at the police station, but then turns into the Mr. Glowy Man.
Yeah, and implies that he needs to be in jail to achieve some ends.
For Daredevil.
Yeah. To continue to be the guardian angel.
So that's what this oversized issue is.
Yeah.
And I mean, then there's a backup story, and then there's the pages of
there's a cartoon.
Yeah.
I
mean, not unentertaining, but geez Louise, like, if I'm gonna pay, how much was this? It was only $6. Never mind.
Actually, yeah, I felt like the price was not egregious. It was basically the price of a DC high quality variant
cover B.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna take a step back on my criticism of what I was just gonna say. So I thought it was like $7.99.
Yeah, but even at a normal price, I do feel like it was light on story for me, and I did not care about what was going on in the book all that much. Like, I wasn't like super into it and excited for what was happening or interested in these characters and their traumas. It was just kind of like, I'm kind of just trying to keep up with what's going on and whatever. It didn't have weight.
Once again, much like the detective, and I'm assuming you're going to also agree with me, like Batman, the first issue seems mostly inconsequential, because
absolutely,
like, this felt like a completely different direction than what issue 1 was, which was more of a continuation of the last run of Daredevil than it is like a new jumping on point. So
And I'm going to say,
I don't know what they're doing.
I'm going to say issue 3 is when the story's actually going to start. That I feel like they did a number 1 because they were trying to fill in the stopgap before 650, the Marvel event book. Then they did a 650 issue as like a standalone. It kind of sets up a new villain that we'll use later on. And issue 3 is going to actually begin this new storyline. I'm willing to put money on it. That we're basically getting 3 issue number 1s in a row here.
Here's a bold suggestion. Quit relaunching at number 1.
I mean, you're not going to have an argument with me on that.
Because then you don't have to worry about stuff like that.
The only people who are happy about it are the accountants at Marvel. Because clearly it works. So they're doing it. But I think everyone who consistently reads comics would say it's just exhausting.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I love Daredevil issue 1, this whatever run. And people are like, oh, yeah, but which volume is it? Like, is it volume 10, volume 23? Which I don't know which one you're reading.
Like Daredevil and Punisher, and there's like just so many.
Yeah. I agree, Ryan. I agree. But it's one of those problems of like, you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? And just not buy it if it's that frustrating, right? Because clearly money is making that choice, right? I would say the same thing about like, there's so many Batman books, it's out of control. So I'm like, I'm not going to put my money into it. I'm not going to buy these books. And I took at least a full year of just being like, I'm not reading it. I'm not buying it. You can't get my money.
To play devil's advocate here for a moment, I feel like on the other side of that coin is the fact that it is a business. We are consumers of that business. And if this is what it takes for that business to continue and thrive, if it's like a necessary evil,
that would be sad. If the only thing keeping Marvel afloat was issue number 1s, that's be really disappointing.
Well, I mean, like, they went bankrupt in the 90s, and I know that was quite a while ago, but like, if these things, if choices like that is what is the difference maker.
I feel like the business model that has trades and collected editions as the big moneymaker makes a ton of sense for me in this business. Like, I can see the logic in that of going after readers by giving them collected editions. And Marvel clearly is making a profit on these when it's like a 5-issue graphic novel and it's like $35 and you're like, what? So clearly there's money there. I just don't understand why that market is not the one that they're hunting down as much as the let's reboot to number 1s. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know how much, and we'd have to talk to someone who's more keyed into the business side of things, but I don't know how much the decline of that has been since things have been going digital so much, because you can get Marvel Unlimited and read the same stories on your iPad,
right,
and not have to have a bunch of heavy books in your house.
Well, and I know that DC, which is more continuity based, has decided in a lot of their books to even take the numbers off the spine of their graphic novels because they're worried that the numbers are deterring people.
Right.
When it says
volume 13, it's like no one's going to buy that.
Right. Because they're like, how do I find 12 through 1? Like, I don't know. So I know that for them that stuff gets on the back burner and they just sell it as the storyline that 5 issues covers.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah.
Grammar.
I mean, makes sense to a point, but
so I will likely be getting a couple more issues of this, and if they continue to be like this, I probably will stop and just be happy with the original run that Zdarsky did, but it will never have punctuation. That's the bummer of it.
Surprising that we talked about this last month where it's literally the same creative team. Like, why does it feel so disjointed from, what was a successful run by all accounts?
Yeah, those 30, whatever it was, 36 or whatever issues were phenomenal. And I can't figure out why they changed the recipe and what their ends are, what the goal is at the end of this,
Yeah. Again, was Zdarsky who said, "Hey, I want to do this Woman Without Fear miniseries," and they said, "Okay, but we're gonna have to relaunch with #1 afterwards," or did editorial say, "Hey, it's been 3 years, we need a new #1"?
I don't know.
Questions we will never have the answer to.
Right.
All right. Well, should we move on to Batman?
The Batman. At first, I picked this up and I was like, "Oh, sweet! Am I getting a Nightwing book?" And then I was like, "Oh no, wait, it's Batman."
Yeah,
like,
and Robin, right? Yeah,
there he is.
Oh, it is Nightwing, huh?
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, yeah, it's got the Nightwing.
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, and he's in it for a page.
A couple of them have a little moment here and there. So this continues the fail-safe story that 125, I think, launched. As I mentioned last time we were talking, I thought issue 126 was vastly superior.
Yeah,
You don't need 125 at all. We saw fail-safe kind of like the machine wake up in 125, but you don't need that. That was really it. That last page villain reveal that Alec loved so much works, in my opinion, far better as a first page villain reveal where, Bruce is sitting in the cave brooding, doing his brood. What's up, Perry? He gets attacked by the robot failsafe and then launches into an immediate emergency situation where he needs to be rescued by any number of Bat family members, people swinging in from all corners of Gotham and Bloodhaven, rescuing him from a deadly machine and helping him kind of escape the machine. Look, even Dick Grayson doing the strut, the runway model strut. Barbara on the computer is checking in. I don't know if this is
that's the Signal.
The Signal. I don't know that character. Anyways, Batman tries to escape to the cave to get away. Looks like Tim Drake is there to give him a hand. He gets down inside the cave and realizes he's got to fight differently with this creature, and he comes back as Zur-In-Ra or Zur-In-Ar. So there he is. And that's the end of the issue. That's the whole thing. Spoiled from a couple of weeks ago. And then, of course, you have a Catwoman continuation from the story from previous issues as well.
The death of the Penguin and the reallocation of his
wealth among his brood, his progeny.
So a couple things I want to bring up.
Yeah.
Number one, I understand Batman is tough and he wears armor, but he, by all accounts, should have died a number of times in this issue. Not look at this panel. He flings him over his head first into the concrete, and breaks the street with his
cracks
head.
Concrete. Yeah. Well, I would look at it as his back, but either way.
But either way,
that's a previous injury. You don't want to re-injure that.
That is a dead person.
Yeah. Or I also think of Batman as a very intelligent person, but he punches a robot in this. Like legit looks at the robot and thinks, I'm gonna lay one into this guy, and it's like, that hurt. Yeah. You punched a metal. I mean, you punched Superman. Why would you punch a robot?
What else can you do?
I mean, that is kind of his shtick, isn't it?
I did also. I don't know if you noticed this. I found this very funny. I'm going to make myself embiggen for this because it's a very small little panel.
He's just bapping that guy in the head. Pop. Is that the signal getting smacked down there? Sorry, you muted yourself. He just bopped the signal on the head.
Yeah.
Boop.
I
actually did not notice that. It's a very chill robot right there.
Yeah, but for just that split second, because the rest of the issue, he is anything but chill.
No. Yeah.
And I think it. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Some of the the art is very good and dynamic, but some of the panels, especially like the panels that are kind of trying to transition from one moment to the next,
like one location to the next,
or like this one here. Like this one right there, where it's just like a hand on possibly a piece of the motorcycle.
Shattered motorcycle.
But like I don't know what that's trying to show me.
That the robot picked up the motorcycle and threw it at
I get that out of context, but
no, I totally agree. I will also say though that I think they use this issue to highlight Jimenez's work in the sense that this is really not a story heavy issue. It's definitely an action heavy issue.
Yes,
and it's a lot of fighting and the chess of combat.
It's not a lot of talking heads.
No,
it's a lot of punching and kicking. I will say one thing, and this is just a pet peeve of mine. You know, these characters go to these like great lengths to hide their secret identities and keep them protected. And I'm sure they have like secure comms or whatever, but they're all just referring to themselves by first name instead of their like superhero names. Like, Babs, what do you have on this? Oh, Dick, let me tell you what I found. Thanks, Bruce. Like, right. Why?
To show they're just close. They're close to one.
They're family,
right?
I don't know. That just bothered me.
No, as it should. It bothered me in Zack Snyder's Justice League when they're just walking around in the fjords there somewhere, and Aquaman's just like, Bruce, you're a Batman? You dress up as a bat? And I'm like, does that whole village now know he's Batman? Damn.
I don't care. So clearly, at the end of this issue, you get what I took to be a not so subtle clue that Failsafe was sent somehow by Batman.
Yes.
Right? Like either from the future or from I don't know what.
It felt like some device he had built
in order to stop himself from doing something.
Yeah, exactly.
But if that's the case, and you didn't want yourself to find out, I mean, maybe you did want yourself to find out, but why would you make its head look like Batman? Because
style points.
That's just Batman in silhouette.
Yeah. I mean, when you got something that's working, you don't change it.
Like I worked hard on this design. I'm just gonna. I might be really smart, but I'm not a great designer, and I was really proud of this one that I came up with. There was an interesting moment in it where Batman basically says that he has like perfect memory, because he says like, for a guy who remembers everything, for something to feel familiar doesn't sit right with me. Or was that in Detective? Now I don't remember.
No, let's see. Failsafe is familiar, but familiar doesn't mean the same thing when you have a mind that remembers everything.
Right.
It's an aberration, a fault line running clean across my memory.
There you go. I was right the first time.
And I found the page pretty quickly.
Clearly, I don't have a memory that remembers everything since I wasn't sure which book it was in. But that's why one of the many reasons why I'm not Batman.
He's got a perfect.
But yeah, I mean, this was not everything I want out of a Batman comic, but like it was super entertaining and a breezy read, and that's kind of what I want from a Batman comic. You know, I want something cool and, you know, with a little bit of mystery, but some action and some explosions.
And when it is surrounded by these 2 detective issues and the previous Batman issue,
it's definitely like
it smells of roses just by comparison.
Right.
So there is that element to it where I can clearly look at it and say, is this one issue on par with some of my favorite Batman books? No. But by comparison to these other 3, it's the one that you're like, oh, that was really good.
What we're getting right now, for what we're getting right now, it felt good.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading this for at least a little while to see what comes.
Yeah, I will. At this point, the next issue would have to be an absolute bomb for me to pass on this story arc. I'm gonna try to finish this story arc.
Well, I'm gonna make a bold statement and say that Failsafe is not gonna be a lasting character because he is boring and without personality.
Well, sure, because he's a robot that Batman made. So robots have very little personality, and neither does Batman. And when you put that together,
it's like a double whammy of personality.
The vacuum. It's a personality vacuum.
Well, maybe it'd be like opposite ends of a magnet where they oppose each other so much that it turns into the exact opposite. And it's super personality.
I don't know.
Well, clearly not, but
no, it did not happen in this particular instance.
No. Anyway, have you read anything else this month that you want to talk about?
The only thing I've read this month, or I should say last month, that is totally noteworthy is Gotham Central. And I messaged you about that the other day.
Which is old, and I've talked about it a number of times.
I had read volume 1 quite a number of years ago and really enjoyed it, and bought all the subsequent volumes and just had them on the shelf and hadn't got around to them because I knew that I would like them and I didn't want to use it up, right? Mm-hmm. Like the last brownie or whatever, like the last piece of dessert. You just don't want to waste it.
You want to be able to savor it.
Yeah.
Because you know when it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly. And this summer, I had put it into the reading box as like, this is the summer when I finish it. And so every month I kind of picked a volume and read it. So I did a June, July, August, and then finished off those 4 volumes. And it just amazing. And rivals, I'm willing to put it up there with Year One or Long Halloween, just as among the best Batman books.
Yeah. And Batman's barely in it.
Right. I think it's now my favorite Two-Face story. I think that storyline with him and Montoya was phenomenal. Really, really loved it. And I never liked the Mad Hatter as a villain. I thought he was just stupid. Like, I just think he was legitimately like a 3rd-tier Batman villain. Mm-hmm. And that storyline they had with somebody abusing his technology, phenomenally creepy and really well done. Like, they used him perfectly. So time and again, they just found ways to take villains that I think maybe didn't always get there,
didn't live up to their potential, or
and use them in a way that like you could make it horrifying. You know, when that guy's arm gets frozen off by Mr. Freeze, you're like, damn, that's
in like the first issue, right?
yeah. And they even use Joker in a cool kind of way, with like a sniper storyline. And I'm not a Joker fanboy or anything, so I was just kind of like, oh, they're using the Joker, but he's like in much the way he looms in the background of Dark Knight, the movie. I think he looms in the background of that story, and it's really just the murders that are populating the plot, and not just like Joker.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that one thing to me that really made that book consistently successful. I know it was only 40 issues or whatever, but it was a book about the police department, and they never got too far away from that.
No, they kept the focus on the day-to-day struggles of those officers and really made them stars. Like they each had a story arc or a storyline, and even side characters like the gal who's the one who turns the light on, the bat light, bat signal. I think they each had their own little like value to add to the piece as a whole. Or the crooked coroner guy, Corrigan, the evidence collecting guy, who plays out all through the series, because they have a Corrigan storyline part 1 and then a part 2. And I think watching this guy who's clearly crooked, clearly on the take, and ruining the lives of many people in Gotham for his own financial gain, but watching how he is impacting this crew of officers is really interesting.
Agreed. It is, I think, not talked about enough in the great Batman stories.
I will likely be buying that omnibus if I can find it for a deal, because I found a few for like $50 on eBay. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Yeah.
Which I think for that omnibus, $50,
not too bad.
All day.
Quality joke from Magic Lasso. I like Alice in Wonder Woman Land because he's the Wonder Woman guy. Okay.
Yeah, and Gore, totally reminded me of Homicide or The Wire, or some of those detective procedural shows, but set within that epic Gotham universe, for sure. And again, Brubaker and Rucka, I mean, come on, top flight all the way.
Yeah, really. I mean, for what that story is, you can't get much better than those two guys. I mean, at least at the time it was released, like they are
noir gods.
Yeah, definitely.
They really get that
best
genre.
of the best when it comes to that genre. Yeah,
totally.
All right. Well, what do you got coming up?
I had a Comic Gories on Monday, so that just happened, and then I got one in 2 weeks from Monday, so I got one coming up, and then I'm prepping a Halloween Comic Gories as well for the Monday before Halloween. Putting together something special, something a little big.
Oh, sounds spooky.
Yes, we will be wearing our costumes.
Whoa.
I'm sorry to people who want the Saturday show with me and the girls, but it's been brutal with both soccer tournaments every single weekend. We were out of the house by 7:00 in the morning here to catch soccer tournaments the last couple of weekends. And, also we had a major home plumbing disaster. So my bed is right behind where the couch is for those shows that we do on the Saturdays with the girls. Meaning, if I turned on the camera at the 8:30 time, if we were home, my wife would be like laying down in the background, out asleep, and mad at me for waking her up, like right behind us every day, every Saturday.
I have two things to say about that.
Okay, go.
Number one, you chose to want to be a big time YouTube star. you have to make sacrifices.
That was absolutely my purpose.
Yes.
And that's I've clearly achieved that goal.
So I think you need to reorganize your priorities and get the Saturday show back.
And my wife needs to just understand.
Well, clearly
that's who she's living with.
And a plumbing issue.
Yeah.
It's
you really just got to get that courtesy flush going.
I was gonna say
it's a shower problem actually. So we're having to demo. They had to come in and tear out a chunk of wall right behind where our bed was, and then now they're gonna have to take out the entire shower and probably that whole bathroom. So
yikes.
So this could be, months out before it's actually back to normal, and my bed is where it goes. Sucks. Stream from bed. I mean, honestly, it's a pretty sweet spot. I got all the DVDs and the comics all around me in the living room there.
What else can you ask for?
Right. So I've got to basically just do the Saturday shows here. So actually this Saturday, Charlie's got a much later soccer game, so we might be able to pull it off. So we'll see.
All right.
So hopefully this Saturday we get back to a normal Saturday show.
Let's hope so.
For the sake of my thriving YouTube channel.
Yes. Your stardom is, still burning bright. Sunday night we are back at it on JP's channel for D&D, I believe, right?
Yep, rolling the dice.
After taking this week off for the holiday. And I will be back in a couple weeks. I don't remember exactly when, but also on JP's channel to talk about more Usagi Yojimbo.
And I think I got a Black Hammer probably coming up in there somewhere.
But yeah, otherwise, it's my channel. Nothing's going on. I live streamed about a week ago to show off a comic book that I got. That's about all I had going on.
And it wasn't too long ago you were showing off all the cards you got. I didn't realize what a card collector you are. So I feel like you could definitely make some great more shows about that.
Yeah, I could.
Do I want to?
Yeah, that's the question. Anyway, hey, Gore, it was good seeing you too. Thank you for always stopping by and engaging with the chat. As well as everyone else. Perry, Magic Lasso, who else is here? Super Russ, Taki616, Noel Martinez, Ben Compton. Who am I missing? Anybody? Tom's Comic Books and Reviews. Comic Books Will Break Your Heart. Tina was here for a minute. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, hopefully maybe there were some other people who were just lurking and or not. It was good seeing you, John. How about that?
Hey, I was good to see you too.
This
was a fun conversation considering we didn't love these 3 books. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, it always is. I've not posted the picture on Instagram yet, but I got to hang out with Thanatos.
I saw that. I
I
think you shared the photo on the slide with me, and then I went to his story and he had all these pictures, and one of them I was like, I know that arm and that shirt. Like I know who that is. That bar, I know who that is.
Yeah, so we went to Galaxy's Edge and it was a good time.
Blue milk or green milk?
Neither. So I'm sure I probably mentioned this to you. The
you
first time I
horribly sick
from blue milk, so I'm good with it.
But I've tried both, and I have no desire to ever try them.
They're not very good.
Again. They're horrible.
But we went.
I don't know what they're supposed to taste like, but
we went to Oga's Cantina. We did Rise of the Resistance. We did Smuggler's Run.
Had he ever been to any of that stuff before?
No.
Nice. That's the best.
I got to watch his reaction to Rise of the Resistance, and that is one of my new favorite things to do at Disney is ride that ride with someone who hasn't done it yet.
Right. Do you get any joy out of Smuggler's Run? Because that was easily a ride that I was like, I never need to do this again.
So the first time I rode it, I was a pilot, and that was an awesome experience.
Okay, I was one of the 2 pilots the first time, the only time I've done it.
Probably 80% of the time since then, I've done single rider, which always puts you as an engineer.
Okay.
So it's still fun, but I think the disparity between pilot and the other roles in the cockpit is quite large.
For me, it's just too much like a video game, and I got so nauseous. I was ready to boot. I was like, I'm done.
Well, don't pair that with the blue milk then.
Right. Blue milk after.
So yeah, that's about all that's been going on over here in Florida. It's hot, and
we went at 105 for Charlie's soccer tournament.
Wow. That's too hot to be playing soccer in.
Try to be doing anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, unless you got any final words, I will sign us off. All right. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. We will see you next month on John's channel, hopefully. And until then, never turn your back on the ocean. Bye.